So welcome. We wanted to start this off with us just signing. Although most of you guys I'm seeing that are in our list actually are signers, so yay. So I'm Magda. I am the Society Sign Herald. I live in Artemisia, and I'm also a Laurel. And one of the things,
to translate what I was signing, I am Kristy Tolman. This is my name sign because of my freckles. I am new in the SCA. I've only been playing for about 11 months. I am in the Kingdom of Atlantia from the Barony of Ravens Cove, and we're excited to be here today.
So we want to start this way to ask you guys how that felt, whether or not it kind of took you back a little, whether it made you a little nervous that we might be signing the entire class, or that, just how it made you feel.
That's not a rhetorical question.
This is all interactive because we're signers, we're visual.
Did you feel frustrated, nervous?
A little confused? And play with us. Oh, we don't have a video allowed. Aha! That might be part of the problem.
To that end, I think that there was discussion about needing waivers for people to appear in video or voice for the sake of recording.
So no discussion?
There can be discussion, though, certainly in the chat. Let me check on that and keep it in the chat for a moment, and I will work on enabling that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, this is totally a discussion fun part. Welcome.
So I guess in the chat, we'll start with typing, and hopefully if the moderator figures out other options, we can go from there. But all right. Somebody's excited because she understood it all. Well done.
Yay. Like I said, I'm seeing a lot of folks I see on the sign practice groups, so that's awesome. Love seeing you here.
What about the rest of you? Please let us know in the chat what your thoughts were when we started and it was completely silent. It was voice off.
All fair points. Happy to understand most of it. Understood it well, but was concerned for the newer folks, naturally. So since discussion at the moment is a little weird, we'll move a little forward. So part of why we did this is it's really, I can understand someone who isn't a signer or learning would be overwhelmed. Exactly. So one of the things we wanted to do was turn the tables a little bit and show you guys, or show hearing folks, what the SCA experience kind of feels to the deaf. Often we walk into a very hearing-centric world, and in our game we're very hearing-centric, and you don't necessarily know what's going on. You don't know what people are saying. Can't hear the heralds, can't, court can be a lot, and that kind of thing. And so this was just to give that point of view in a way that hearing folks can understand. Now I got a comment, I'm still learning to sign, a little nervous, but I did understand something. I'm thrilled. Yay.
Perfect. And those feelings of being slightly overwhelmed, being nervous, that's exactly what we wanted you to feel in this safe space, because we want you to understand that's what many deaf or hard of hearing individuals feel when they start to play as well.
So one of the things we were asked was, to teach this class on how to recruit the deaf into the SCA. And we think it's important. We already have quite a few deaf folks within the Knowne world. I'm one of them. And we have a lot of opportunities. I mean, I went and looked, and every kingdom within the known world has a major deaf school. And often when there are deaf schools, there are pockets of deaf people who, you kind of swarm around the schools. It's a cultural thing. And so there's an untapped resource for us. And deaf people can be very loyal, and we love finding new activities, and often we come en masse. But at the same time, when we're asked, how do we teach the SCA? How do we figure out this recruitment? How do we recruit the deaf into the SCA? And the answer right now is we're not ready. We're not ready. We've made some great steps, but we're nowhere ready to bring in, especially those who are culturally deaf, and we'll explain culture versus just little d deaf in a second. But we haven't built the infrastructure yet. We haven't gotten our fluency yet. We haven't gotten to a point where we're already prepared for those, so that those who come in do not feel completely overwhelmed. And so that's part of what our discussion, and what we hope to have as a discussion,
And on
is
that
going to be
topic,
about.
I've got something about that. So
please.
I've got approval for unmuting and on video. To that end, I just need to announce to all participants that if you choose to unmute or turn on your video, you are agreeing that this is all being recorded and is intended to go up on YouTube for the general public's consumption at a later time. So if you're not comfortable with that, please do not turn on your video or unmute. At this time, I'm enabling everyone the ability to unmute themselves and start their video. Hopefully now the discussion can launch.
Woohoo!
And sorry
Thank
for the
you.
delay. I wanted to make sure I was doing it right.
We appreciate that. Thank you. And as those of you who choose to do so, join us visually. Again, today we want to start with maybe where do we have room to grow? Discuss some of the problems we have, discuss where we are now, but then where we want to be. We're going to end on a positive note of where we see this going. We see a lot of potential here, and we're excited that you are here with us today because you want to have that same vision with us. So I guess to begin, we've kind of made our disclaimers. We're not quite ready yet. But I think you mentioned you wanted to start a little bit with some of the cultural understanding of deafness, deafhood. It is a spectrum.
It is. It's a very wide spectrum. Because we have folks who lip read, like I do. We have those who sign and voice, those who sign and don't voice, those who don't know sign at all, those who are hard of hearing, those who use hearing aids, those who use a cochlear implant, those who have the really cool bone conduction hearing aids. Awesome. We have a huge range and an aging population. And so you have those who are all that. We also have children of deaf adults. And then you have deaf culture. And deaf culture, deafhood, is unique because we share a language. We often share a culture. It's what creates a culture. There are thoughts, beliefs, etiquette that all happens with those who identify as capital D deaf, which is because it's a culture, it's capital D. Of course, now I'm going to brain fart. This is what I get for drinking 3 cups of coffee.
There are also those who are what we call lowercase d deaf or little d deaf. Those are more on the medical side. Maybe people who lost their hearing when they were older. They're not considered culturally deaf. Typically, usually they're not as involved in the deaf culture. Maybe they didn't go to a deaf school, things like that. And this isn't
I have deaf friends.
Right, this isn't a judgment. It's a way of understanding that there is a culture, but there's still a wide spectrum of people who experience deafhood in different ways. And as the SCA, we want to make sure that every single person has access and has a way to play with us. And it sounds like we're still working on all of the tech issues. Thank you for working on it, and thank you for your patience.
Hey, I can see you.
Beautiful people.
Good to see
Miss
you all.
all of you.
Good to see you all.
Yay.
Thank you for making it work. Yay!
Thank you.
So, I mean, we're within the SCA, we're going to deal with those who are little d deaf, just medically deaf, as well as those who are coming from a deaf culture point of view. And so we have to be very careful when we're dealing with some of these things. For example, something from the SCA. Not too long ago, we had someone who was capital D deaf who went to their first event and saw a lot of folks teaching sign classes, and they were not exactly thrilled with the fact that they were all hearing, and a lot of them were brand new signers. And it definitely caused, and some questions were raised, and it caused some issues. And so one of the things that we encourage is, if you're going to have sign classes, one, ask a deaf person first. Give them the right of first refusal, because nobody should have to carry that burden if they don't want to. It's a lot of emotional effort. And some folks, even those who are fluent in sign, may not want to do so. They may not be a great teacher. They just may not have the time, whatever. But it is nice to ask them first. There is a whole history of hearing people taking things from the deaf and monetizing it. TikTok is a great example. There's a lot of that happening right now. There's a series of books that came out on dirty deaf signs. And yeah, and it was done by someone who hadn't even finished her first semester of ASL, and the signs were all wrong. But she made a lot of money off of it. And there's a lot of hearing people who don't know better, who are now trying to use those signs and not understanding why those who are deaf going, that's not right. This isn't a good thing. So we want to be careful. So by asking a deaf person first, then they have the right to refuse. If there is no one else, then you can start looking for who else is willing to volunteer. And you want to be very careful. You know, if we're going to teach signs, we want to make sure we're teaching the right signs. We want to make sure we're teaching it right the first time, so we're not creating bad habits. And sign in the SCA is special because we have our own signs. You know, Laurel, Pelican, and we deal with regional differences, because there are some even within the SCA, just like there is in sign across America. And we're also Knowne World. So we have multiple languages that have their own sign languages as well. So we have to be courteous. We have to be aware.
Going off of that, recognizing that this is a culture, this is a language, it is established and it's not ours. And so if we want to use it, we try to do it respectfully. We try to do it honestly. We've seen some examples where somebody was really excited to use sign language as a Laurel project, but they didn't know sign language beforehand. And so they were just trying to utilize the language to do something beautiful, and they made it an arts and crafts project. That's an example of cultural appropriation that maybe you haven't thought of. This is not, as a hearing person, I can say this is not our language. This is not our culture. And so trying to do that might not be in the best of taste. And so as we are trying to increase signing, which we want to do, we should be careful how we do it. This isn't an arts and science project for people to play with. I hope that makes sense. We are excited to explore how beautiful and creative and visual sign language is, but we have to make sure that we're not appropriating it at the same time as we are trying to learn and expand.
So one of the ways that we've already done this within the SCA is because we do have SCA specific signs, because those signs do not exist in ASL or whatever language someone is using. We ask the deaf. We talk to them when we're creating new signs. I mean, just like when you just joined the SCA, you learned a lot of vocabulary that is SCA specific. It's the same with our signs. But we went forth, and when we were coming up with some of these, we spoke to folks. And yes, I will admit, some of our SCA signs are a little dated. We like to use a lot of initialized signs for our SCA, which is very 1990s. And that's
If
okay.
you want a side lecture on initialized signs, let me know and I can go off on the soapbox.
And I mean, but we've also got this room for growth. I mean, if a deaf person moves into your area and they prefer a different sign, then that's the sign you use. If they create a name sign for an area, then that's the sign we use. Again, it's that respect for those who this is their language. So now we've done a little bit of culture. We've done a little bit of the appropriation and respect. Next question is, if we really want to recruit the deaf, things we need to do to up our game. First, we need more signers. It's just a simple matter of numbers. And I'm looking, and I know several of you guys are signers and you're all sign heralds, and we love you, but we also know you're tired. Often you're the only one at an event, and courts can be long, and it's hard to keep that focus. It's hard to keep the signing, especially when you're still learning and maybe your vocabulary isn't as extended, or even, you know, it takes a lot of skill to get to that interpreter level of in the ear, out the hands. And we know this. So the next thing is also encouraging our fluency. And we love new signers. New signers are amazing. And I love new signers who want to sign court. We just have to start with having that knowledge of at least the basics. And I know we have the 25 signs you need to know to sign SCA court, and that's a great place to start. If you learn those 25, you can do a court. It may not be much, it may not give all the information, but it will give enough information for context and understanding. And we can build on your vocabulary from there. We're in several different discussions on how to get that fluency. We have weekly practice and that kind of thing. And so we want to have that growth.
Something to go off of that, we always want to have that expectation of growth and of improvement. And so one thing that we have been discussing and that we want to be able to implement is a legitimate structure for beginning signers or moderate signers, experienced signers, fluent, etc., but have an actual structure so that when people are setting up an event, they know who to go to, and they have expectations to maybe not have you signing in a court alone for an hour. So
or even if you're the only one signing, if you're a beginner signer, I know that's the level of sign I'm going to see.
Exactly. So we want to create a system that will protect you as signers, so you are not exhausted, so you're not worn out, and so people aren't upset because their expectations weren't met. But we also want to have an expectation of growth at the same time. So that is still in the works, but we just want to let you know that the expectation of growth also has to come from within. Expect yourself to continually improve. I consider myself fluent. I don't consider myself done. I am still a student. Yes, always. We are always still students. And that is something to consider in the SCA as well. We're all still students, aren't we? That's the point of the SCA, to be a student through experience and to never be done learning through experience. And so we really are excited that as we use sign heralds more, we can continue to grow through experience. And so if you have ideas and suggestions about a structure that will help, please let us know. personally, and we can include that in the discussion.
Please do. And, if by all means, send your emails to the Society Sign Herald, and I will get that email to you because I can never remember off the top of my head. But please share your info. Exciting things that I'm seeing that we are doing good steps that we can do more of. There are several kingdoms now doing visual, like banners of like awards. And when they hold up the banner, it'll have the name of the award, a picture of the device of the award or the badge of the award, and what the award is for. AOA art, GOA, whatever, fighting, that kind of thing. And so they can have somebody else hold that up as well, and you can see it, read it. It's another visual cue. And part of our job being sign heralds is also being the advocates, advising. And so these are things I would love to see encouraged more. We've done a great job so far, but we can always do better, making sure our online content is captioned. I've been to some, Knowne World events or universities, and not necessarily all classes are captioned. It would be great if we did that, and we expect it. I love that the board of directors, all their meetings are now captioned, and they have interpreters. I would love interpreters for everything, but we also know financially we just can't do it on the local level. We just can't afford it. If you can, hey. We're in discussions. I've got a test program, hopefully going to be starting soon using both CART, which is the live captioning, where they have a little projector and it projects on a wall, and there's somebody there typing out the captions live in the room during a court setting. We're discussing use of microphones. We're discussing and trying to figure out if I can get it to work. Problem is logistics. Finding a Bluetooth receptor microphone type thing that can sit at the front of court, that can Bluetooth connect to everyone's hearing aids, because most of them are Bluetooth capable now, which is amazing. So it's more than just signing. Again, because deafness is a spectrum, we want to offer a spectrum of accessibility. And often when folks think of the deaf, they just automatically, okay, we'll have sign, we need sign. It's more than that. And so we're going to try to come at this from all angles.
And because of that, a lot of it's going to be grassroots. A lot of it's going to be you. Obviously, as Society Herald, she is trying to move mountains from the top down, but a lot of it will also come from us as individuals, from the bottom up. And then hopefully it will permeate all the way through. But a lot of it will come from us letting people know, I'm a sign herald. I am here at your event. I am ready and willing to sign. By the way, did you know we can also have wonderful visual aids? Did you know we can also do microphone? Did you know? So we will work on having resources so you will know how to advocate in your area, because we want to make sure that you have support, but you are the voice or the hands in your area.
So sharing resources, although for the majority of those here in this class, you already know these things. So for those who are watching, here at home on YouTube later, first thing is there is a fabulous Silent Herald practice group on Facebook, and that is the title. I share the link in the chat, but most of you guys have it, and once it's shared on YouTube, the chat is gone. So just look us up, Silent Herald practice group. It will come up.
Yes, it's typically we practice Thursday evenings.
Yeah. At
this moment, we've paused until the new year. But yes, typically every Thursday evening we practice through Zoom.
7 p.m. Mountain Time. Whatever.
I mean, for me in my time zone, it's 9 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock Central time.
Yep.
So you translate that.
Yeah. But by all means, we'd love to have anybody. All levels are welcomed. Even if you're absolutely brand new and know no sign, come join us. Lifeprint.com
with experience of that.
Yep, lifeprint.com is a fabulous place to start learning sign language. It is taught by Dr. Bill Vickers, who's amazing deaf teacher, and he has a whole curriculum. Halfway down the page, it says ASLU, and it says university, and it's set up as a curriculum. It's a great way to learn sign, ASL itself. We are working on talking to folks out of the United States to help us create some videos and find good resources to share for their languages. Because again, there is no universal ASL. ASL is not universal. Every country has its own languages. It's a lot of fun sometimes. And I'm trying to think of other resources. By all means, use me as a resource.
We have some wonderful resources for example, the first 25 signs of the SCA that you should know. Right now, they are just printed in English. I don't know if there's a plan to make them visual or not, but right now that is available. Where are the best places to find that? It is escaping me at the moment.
So there is a Sign Herald. It's Silent Herald, I believe, on YouTube. There's a whole series of links. Also, if you go to the SCA.org, signheraldry.html, and that will have, there's a whole list of articles. There is the sign dictionary for SCA specific signs, are all located on that fabulous page. And there's all sorts of fabulous links going into some of the signs from like LOCAC, other sign dictionaries, and some of the articles are amazing. One of the things that we're also trying to help push, and you're all helping, is that getting seen and making us normal so that folks expect us. And so the rest of courts, other heralds, when they get ready for a court, they're going to look around and go, oh wait, we need the sign herald to come back for our pre-court meeting so that we know what to sign. So we're not doing it blind, because that's always a pain. And Suzanne, I saw your hand.
Oh, I was typing it in the chat. The 25 Basic Signs document contains links to recordings of a person, either Nessa or Dr. Bill Vickers signing whatever we're talking, whichever word we're talking about in the 25 basic signs. So it's not just words. There is a word description of the sign, but then there's a link. There are usually at least there's one link, maybe two underneath it to get you to someone actually making the sign.
Perfect. Thank you for correcting that. That's wonderful. And again, you are the hands and the voice in your area. So make sure you tell people, tell your kingdom, tell your barony, I'm here, I'm a sign herald. For example, I'm in the barony of Ravens Cove, and there are no signers in the cove except for me. I still plan on standing up and signing in court. Not because I'm appropriating the language, but because I want them to get used to seeing it. I want them to understand that this is a resource, this is accessibility, this should be included in court. I want to change the expectations. I want to be added to the checklist.
And I've watched and I've had experience where I've taught some, basic signs to some hearing friends. And when they start seeing the sign heralds, they can start identifying some of those signs. And nothing quite like being at a grand court. For me, it was a grand court at Battlemore. And we couldn't hear anybody past the third row, but we had a sign herald. And the herald was amazing. And it was fun to watch my friends filling in those who were sitting near them, going, "Oh, it's the Arts Award. It's the AOA Arts Award. They're all, and they were able to identify enough that just off the signs that they had learned. So it helps those who are deaf, hard of hearing, and the hearing. Again, visual. But our biggest thing is we need to get on the same page. We need to help each other, and we need to make this more normal. Get more signers, up our fluency, and then we can start hitting the trail of, getting, into the deaf clubs and inviting folks in there. So that way we've also gotten folks where they're used to seeing this, they're used to dealing with it, because there's nothing worse. I have one experience. I have a friend who I brought into the SCA who is very deaf, profoundly deaf, and does not voice. And I talked about the SCA. I was very excited. I love the SCA. And at her first event, the minute she started signing, people would just walk away. And instead of trying to communicate, if you can't sign, that's fine. Get a piece of paper, get your phone, text, try to interact. Because I know that's one of the biggest fears, especially those who do not voice. They're scared about joining the SCA for that, because there's no one there to communicate with them, and folks won't even try. We have to at least try. So we've now got about half an hour left, just short of half an hour left. And so we can open up the doors to whatever we'd like to discuss about sign heralds. If there's anything you would like to know about our plans, our ideas, weird questions, fun stories, whatever.
If you have vocabulary questions, how do you summarize the SCA in not your first language? If you want to practice that with us right now, we can do that.
I just wanted to make sure that folks know that on the Society Silent Herald page, there is a link to a Sign Herald's Handbook, which if your kingdom does not already have a handbook, you can use that handbook as a either use it as a starting point, or and then modify it for your kingdom. Yeah, so guidance is always good.
So you talked about expectations of the ability of the signer. My kingdom's a little strange because we've had Marie and we've had Keelan, who is she's fluent, very, very fluent in it as well. And so for a long time, the expectation, especially during COVID, when we had signers for every virtual court, was that it was a fluent interpreter level kind of person. I'm not there. And I will say that the first time that I signed court, while I was signing court, somebody actually came up and tapped me on the shoulder and asked why I wasn't signing all the words. You'd already left, Marie, but yes, that happened that evening when I was signing. And I was kind of like, because I don't know all the words. But
we have to have approving, we have to, just like we do with our voice heralds. We have brand new voice heralds who they have to have their first court.
Yes.
And it's the same with the sign.
Hopefully, and for voice heralds, there's normally somebody there who can help. Unfortunately, with silent heralds, there's often not another person. But I don't know the best way, but some way to expectations or levels or something so that people aren't either expecting nothing or expecting interpreters.
Yes. And
I mean, so sorry that happened.
I was just like, okay.
I know one of the things we've discussed is, once you become a silent herald, you can get your little necklace or, something to have on your leather belt. And then you can get a stamp for, okay, I've achieved this level.
I have mastered the 25 signs. I now have a stamp. I am now, beginning to put, my vocabulary is at this level. Maybe I get a stripe. I am now able to at least do concepts, maybe not the entire thing somebody's saying, but I can at least conceptualize it and do it in simplify it, get another stripe. And then that way we can, we know what we're looking for. It's an idea. It's definitely something we're in discussion of. And again, it's that we also have to make sure we're all on the same page. I mean, it's why we're asking to use sign heralds, because there was confusion when we were using silent herald. So now we're using sign herald, and wanting to use that across the board, across the known world. So if anybody is looking for a sign herald, anywhere they go, they can say, I need a sign herald, and we'll know what they're talking about. And not because one kingdom uses a different term. And then everyone goes, I have no idea what you're talking about. So we're just trying to get things unified.
One thing that I try to do to set up is also at troll or registration, whichever your name in your kingdom is, have a poster, a note saying, "Oh, there is a sign herald here," so that any person can shows up. So, okay, so, and then and if you feel comfortable, leave your name at registration so that when people troll in, sign in, however, what word your kingdom uses, there is that information there. But that never got off. That idea never blossomed, unfortunately. But
You can always try again. I mean,
yeah.
it is, that's a great idea.
I
And
love
again,
that idea.
we're looking at a lot of options. And I mean, this is the fun of, we have currently 3 of the Society Sign Heralds, past Society Sign Heralds in the room. Well, 2 of the past and the current.
I was gonna say, you're still here, right?
And then hopefully a future.
Don't leave. You will, yeah. Yay, Tegan!
Breaking news.
But, you know,
Neil, the
we want, you know, to try to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're working together. Excuse me, my kiddo.
Marie, I love that concept of, you know, whether it's, okay, we're all wearing armbands, so we're easily identifiable, but even when people enter the gate and they troll in,
Mhm.
it's posted. I
Or
love the idea
if
of,
or if you just have the sign herald symbol there,
the logo is,
and if if you're not at the event, or if you don't know anybody who can sign, don't have it. But if we can get in the habit of doing that,
Yeah.
maybe that would be a little.
And like I said, I mean, if you guys have any other ideas, or if you're watching
right.
later and you have ideas, please feel free to reach out and let us know, either at the Sign Herald page, or the practice page, or the Society Sign Herald email, which is what I meant to grab.
I know one thing I'm going, oh, Tegan, go ahead.
Sorry, can you hear me okay?
Mhm.
Okay, sorry, I can't get my video to turn on. I don't know what I'm doing. So a couple things. One is, I was talking with some marshals who were excited about the idea of trying to get more signing done at or near the field.
Mhm.
So that was one thing I wanted to toss out there, that I'm actually starting to get some of that feedback from marshals who are wanting that, not just not just us going, hey, this would be a good thing. But the other thing is I went to a DEI meeting, and the idea of the banners was brought up at that, because it's an easy visual for everybody across. But the other thing I was going to say about the sign herald symbol and the sign at gate or troll or whatever is also an explanation with it of what it is, because someone new still needs to connect that heraldry to what it is. The other thing that I'm interested in is trying to talk our voice heralds into seeing the sign herald and the voice herald as a team that works together.
Yes.
So if there's going to be a court, we need the 2 heralds, not the 1 herald. Just as a, the more we get buy-in from everyone else too, the better off it is, and the more exposure the language has, and the more welcome we are as a whole. That's it.
So the email for the Society Sign Herald is Sign Herald, just one word, at heraldry.sca.org. So yes, any ideas, thoughts, by all means, please reach out to me or whoever follows me, and let us know your ideas, concepts. I'm willing to try, let's test things out. Let's try things new. If you think some way to change things or improve them, please let me know. I'm very open to anything. I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience, but my deafness is different from someone else who is deaf, or from someone who's hard of hearing. I know all those experiences are different. And so if it might help someone or yourself, by all means, let me know, and I will happily add it to our arsenal. And we've actually done really well because it's like 5 minutes until the close of class. We've done good.
Any last minute questions about vocabulary in the SCA? How do I describe this to my friend who is deaf? Since that is technically the name of the class, how do you introduce the SCA to a deaf person? My favorite. Oh, Tegan.
Oh, I was just going to say, University of Atlantia coming up. I'm teaching the basic signs class at that. So University of Atlantia, February 3rd and 4th, that weekend. There is going to be the basic sign class at that. And also I'm doing a history of sign languages at that as well.
Which is an awesome class.
Ooh.
I've been fascinated with your research.
That sounds glorious. So to those who maybe don't know, how can they access Kingdom of Atlantia University?
They have a
Go on the
webpage.
Kingdom of Atlantia website. There is a webpage for University of Atlantia, and you would log in to that and sign up. The catalog is not set yet, but it will be within the week, I think.
And
We'll have it done
registration
in the next week,
opens
and
the
the
1st
catalog
of
will be posted.
January.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing
And-
that.
So yeah, as soon as the catalog comes out, I will share the links and information on the Silent Herald's Facebook pages and everything. So
If there's nothing else, we'll just say thank you, and we'll see you all later. I hope. Thank you, guys.
Any last questions?
But a lot of love. Thank you all, and hopefully you'll enjoy the other classes being offered. There's some great ones. And hopefully I will see you guys at practice in the new year.